Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. There's only one way to start off this video, only one thing to say. We are winning, and we're winning big. Exactly what was expected. They thought that it was no big deal, it was just gonna blow off, a bunch of smoke but no fire. Well, clearly they weren't paying attention. This Bud Light boycott was never supposed to be just a small little blip. They weren't paying attention to the sentiment. It wasn't faux outrage that was simply going to dissipate into thin air after a couple days. It's been over a month, and it keeps getting worse for Bud Light. And the funny thing is, it's happening exactly as we predicted. It would start off with a brief little comeback, but as the boycott persists, and boy, it's still going, well then the numbers would slowly be released over time. And let's just say Bud Light is tanking beyond belief, and now their stock is even being downgraded by a major bank. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so exactly as I've been saying, wait for the earnings reports, or even just the earnings analysis that continues to drop on a weekly basis. Bud Light parent company's stock is now downgraded by HSBC amid branding quote crisis and huge sales drops. HSBC has downgraded Anheuser-Busch InBev stock to hold amid a crisis following Bud Light's marketing campaign featuring the individual who shall not be named. Carlos Laboy, managing director at HSBC Global Beverage Sector, told CNBC that there are, quote, deeper problems than ABI admits. After the social media partnership with TikTok individual who shall not be named in April, is ABI's leadership getting the brand culture transformation right? It's mixed, Laboy wrote. At Ambev, we think the answer is yes. In the US, we think it's a no. The way this Bud Light crisis came about a month ago, management response to it and the loss of unprecedented volume and brand relevance raises many questions, Laboy continued. Laboy cited a Beer Marketer's Insight note, which reported a drop in beer sales of possibly over 25% in April. That's a 1/4 drop. Let's say you're doing $100 million in sales for the month. That's losing $25 million in sales during that time period. That's not a small hit. That's absolutely devastating. Let's continue with the article. Why did its US leadership underestimate the risk of pushback given the recent experience of other firms? Is AB hiring the best people to grow the brand and gauge risk? The analyst added, if Budweiser and Bud Light are iconic American ideas that have long brought consumers together, why did these marketers fail to invite new consumers without alienating the core base of its firm's largest brand? It's getting bad for Anheuser-Busch, and I mean really bad. Just take a look at the most recent performance data. Over the last month, you see the stock went down negative 5.36%. That equated to roughly, I think, $6 or $7 billion in market cap lost. For the most part, though, the stock recovered. After a couple days, maybe a week or so, investors thought, well, okay, this whole thing's gonna blow over. It's over. Like I was saying earlier, all smoke and no fire. But then as reality started to kick in for investors, just in the last 5 days alone, the entire bounce back has been completely decimated, and the stock is even lower than it was at its lowest point after the initial blowback, down nearly 6% in the last 5 days. And trust me when I tell you that is just the beginning. We predicted this, because investors play these short-term games. You hear bad news about a company, the moment it drops, buy in. In other words, buy the dip. People are thinking, sure, it's bad PR, but hey, it's a good company. It's the biggest beer brand in the country. Their financial statement looks pretty good. Their projected growth looks pretty good. Let's buy the stock and we're probably going to be winners. Maybe in the end, they might be. But in the short term or the relative long term, investors are getting a real awakening, a real wake-up call that this wasn't a buy the dip situation to make a little 5 points. This is a total PR disaster that has gone on for over a month and is not slowing down. In fact, it might even be picking up. The stock is tanking, and the stock is tanking because the sales numbers keep coming in, and devastating is probably not even the right word to use. It's worse. Take a look at this piece from the Daily Mail. Bud Light's hangover from hell. Sales figures for America's once favorite beer reveal how every region in the United States has turned its back since the TikTok individual who shall not be named tie-up, as Anheuser-Busch stock is downgraded over crisis. Data from Beer Business Daily showed that sales of the US's #1 brand has fallen in every single region in the country. Sales in the Rocky Mountain states dipped the most significantly, down 29%, with the South Atlantic, West North Central, and East South Central all dropping 25%. The Tumbleweed, a cowboy bar in Wyoming, ditched Bud Light after the controversy, instead plumping for Guinness. Sales in the East North Central area, which includes Michigan and Illinois, both of which have seen backlash against the beer, were down 23.5% in the week ending April April 22nd. It comes as analysts at HSBC have downgraded Anheuser-Busch stock because it is in the midst of a crisis over the marketing blunder. The Daily Mail then posts this graphic right over here, and man, look at those numbers. From the mid-Atlantic to the South Atlantic to all the more central regions, and then all the way to the West Coast, sales are down anywhere from 18% to 29%. I mean, look at those regional sales drops. That's pretty much across the board. And remember all those leftoids targeting us on the genius of Bud Light marketing strategies? Well, you're just not the target demo. That's what they kept saying. Bud Light's moving away from you hillbillies in those flyover states and focusing on a new left-wing, progressive consumer base. Well, you'd expect that progressive consumer base to be on the coasts. Of course, the West Coast and in the mid-Atlantic and New England area. That's where the new target demo is, right? Well, not exactly. Certainly, they didn't do as bad in those areas as they did elsewhere, but still dropping anywhere from 14 to 18, 19% in their new targeted consumer areas. A monumental failure. They were expecting the leftist culture warriors to pick up the slack, to side with Bud Light. And you know what? In TikTok videos they did. But do you really think that wealthy California and New York elitists are going to start drinking Bud Light because of the culture war? Of course not. Why would they do that? I mean, maybe they'll drink Stella, but outside of tweets and random TikTok videos getting involved, they're not actually motivated consumers of the product. Simply not. And actually, speaking of what I just said earlier, this assumption that maybe big city liberals would start picking up Stella, well, apparently that's not the case either. Bud Light backlash is now hurting other Anheuser-Busch brands, data shows. Alright, so the article goes, yada yada yada, sales are down, and then this line reads, however, declining sales are not limited to just one Anheuser-Busch label anymore. Budweiser in particular saw a hit to sales revenue of 11.4% in the week ending of April 29th, while another of its beer, Michelob Ultra, saw a 4.4% decline. Busch Light sales dropped 1.8%, Natural Light fell 5.2%. All had seen a fall in the number of cases sold, with Budweiser losing 13% of the volume compared to the same week of 2022. So it seems like Stella might be the only brand, part of the Anheuser-Busch family, that hasn't been completely devastated. I think the investor play at this point is to take your money out of Anheuser-Busch stock and to put it into literally any direct competitor. Because the facts are clear here. The American people across the board from every single state and every single region have chosen that Bud Light and other sister products, and they've chosen to form new beer relationships. And once that happens, once you've made that consumer decision, in many cases it lasts a lifetime. I have a couple beers, they're my go-tos, it's what I drink. I don't think I'm going to change much as I get older. I mean, I haven't changed for the last 10 years or so. I have my favorite beers, I have my favorite scotch, and that's what I drink. A lot of people are done with Bud Light, they're picking up other drinking habits, and I don't know if that's going to change. I guess we'll have to just keep following this thing, especially over the next couple of years, and see if Bud Light's long-term strategy works here. Maybe they're geniuses and it's going to be a short-term struggle, or I guess a mid-term struggle, but once all those Gen Z kids become of legal age to start consuming alcohol, well, they're all going to grow up Bud Light fanatics. I don't know. I'm doubting it. Not sure we're going to see that, but I guess we'll just have to see. As of right now, it is beyond devastating. Anheuser-Busch decided to go woke and they are going broke at the fastest pace that I have ever seen. What an incredible boycott it has been. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Of course, we'd love to have you here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.